Are your messages failing and you don't know why? Did you know that the carriers actually could put a flag on your number or on your campaign or actually on your entire EIN? And in this video, I am going to tell you how you can know if you have a carrier flag, where flags can actually happen within the messaging process, and how you can avoid carrier flags and make sure that your messages are delivering smoothly. Hi, my name is Will Craig. I am a co-founder of a company called Signal House. We're a messaging provider that specializes in connectivity for CRMs and marketing platforms, but we can power any communication that is sent from an application to a person that is a software system to someone's handset, and the reverse, someone's handset to a software system as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So let's talk carrier flags. What are they? How do you get them? And most importantly, how can you avoid them? And to discuss that, we'll first take a step back and talk about the carrier's role within the messaging ecosystem. So carriers are there to both enable and protect. Enable businesses like mine, like yours, like everyone else's, to send wanted, opted in for traffic on the carrier networks and enable the business messaging ecosystem. They also have to protect their subscribers, which are, again, like you and me, those who are civilians with our cell phones, and we don't want a ton of spam messages or even worse, scam messages. So they have to protect their subscribers, and they have to make sure that if there's patternistic behavior that is indicative of a bad actor, that they identify that and quell it as quickly as possible. And so what does that really mean? How do they do this? Well, they do this through a process called content filtering. So they have keyword and algorithmic filtering. Now, at the carrier level, it's going to be very smart, high-tech, machine learning, algorithmic content filtering. With this content filtering, they're going to be looking for specific patterns. They're going to be matching up your messages to known scam messages, and they are going to be seeing how similar, essentially, your messages are to known scam messages. So the first piece of advice is to make sure that you are avoiding common scam message tricks. And so these are things like saying free in all caps and act now, things that pressure the user into making an impulsive decision. Those are indicative of scam messages. Or if you try to get around some of the keywords like free or like act now, and you use symbols as the letters themselves. So for example, if it was shop here, you could use a $sign as the S. Those type of using different characters to circumvent filtering, they're looking for that. And if they see that, you'll look even more like a bad actor if you're doing that. So avoid those types of things. Avoid those keywords like free, putting everything in all caps, having excessive $signs, percentage signs, etc. All of those things can sort of lead to you being identified as potentially having bad traffic, which could, of course, have your messages filtered by the carriers. Now, filtering is not a carrier flag, though. So how does filtering get to the level of a carrier flag? And so it's a great question. So when you first get your phone number, you go through a process of warming it up. So you're going to have really normal conversations with individuals. You're having normal responses. Your number looks like it is a proper phone number. But if you start doing spammy activities, if you start getting high opt-out rates, if you start doing these things that lead to you having a poor reputation or your number having a poor reputation, you will get a carrier flag. And so there's also one thing I talked about in there that I wanted to double click on, and that is your opt-out rate. And so different things in summation can lead to a carrier flag. So one is your delivery rate. So if you are getting your messages filtered because they are spam-like, then that is going to lead to a carrier flag. If you have a high opt-out rate, which is indicative of you not having consent from your customers, you also can have a carrier flag. And when you combine these two things together, having scammy messages or spammy messages, having a high opt-out rate, you are going to get a carrier flag. And different carriers assign carrier flags for different things. AT&T is definitely content driven. T-Mobile, in my experience, appears to be more opt-out driven. And Verizon is kind of a black box. I think we've already talked about that in other videos. Verizon doesn't really disclose things to the public, which makes sense because they don't want you to try to circumvent it. But in general, AT&T is going to be more so content. T-Mobile, more so opt-out rate. But in general, you want to avoid both of these pitfalls. And so how do you make sure that your opt-out rate is low? And that's also a great question. To ensure that you have a low opt-out rate, what I always recommend is number one, first and foremost, of course, obtaining consent. So making sure that you have one-to-one consent to message your contacts. And that consent is expressed prior and written, and they absolutely know that you're going to message them and they want your messages. If that's the case, you most likely will not get opt-outs. Now, there will be a small portion that is still going to opt out. And the reason for that is because they may not need your service anymore. The example that I always give is an auto detailer. So let's say you get in a car accident, you have to go to a body shop, they do some work on it. And while they're doing work on it, you have the option to sign up for both promotional and customer support related messaging. And so you do both because you like the experience so far. So you kind of want some promotional material just in case there's something you may like. And you also, of course, want customer support messaging just in case there's an issue. So let's say 3 months goes by, they send you a message with a new offer, and you decide that you actually don't really need that service anymore. It was kind of a heat of the moment sort of thing of you signing up for it. You go ahead and opt out. That is, of course, totally proper. You opted in knowing that you wanted information, and you opted out because you no longer need the information. So carriers aren't looking with a magnifying glass at every single opt-out. Again, it's patternistic behavior. If there's a pattern of you having high opt-out rates, then that can lead to a carrier flag. So how do you avoid opt-out rates just on your normal database sort of messaging? And the answer to that is to intermix your reactivations or your messaging drips for customers that are kind of cold leads or that you haven't spoken to in a long time. I would drip those in with your normal conversational messaging because there will be a subset of your database that doesn't need your services anymore. And that's okay. And they might want to opt out. And again, that's okay. But what you don't want is you don't want to send out a message to 1,000 people and have 250 of them opt out at a single time, showing a 25% opt-out rate. That is going to make the carriers think that you are messaging a ton of people that you don't have consent to message. I know that's not true. You know that's not true, but their systems don't because, again, it's patternistic and it looks like that. So, again, intermix those database reactivations in with your other messaging. And now let's talk about the final thing that I wanted to cover today and what happens when you get multiple carrier flags and how do you get rid of a carrier flag? And so those are also good questions. So the first one is, how do you get rid of a carrier flag? So carrier flags will drop off with time. So time is the first way that you get rid of a carrier flag, especially when you first get a carrier flag. That will drop off quicker. So you might have a flag for a couple days and then they drop it off. And then if you get another one with the same carrier, it might be a week or two and then it could drop off. But in general, the way that you make it drop off is, of course, improve your opt-out rate, improve your filtration rate. So alter kind of the content of your messaging and structuring your outreach slightly differently to optimize for a lower opt-out rate. So that's how you get rid of it. What happens if you continue to get them over and over again? They escalate. So the first escalation is just a longer flag. It doesn't drop off as quickly. The second escalation is going to be a permanent flag. That number is now permanently flagged. You will no longer be able to send messages to that carrier with that phone number. This is usually a time where you would want to recycle that phone number, but high recycle rates of that phone number on a given campaign could also get that campaign flagged. And if you continue to have bad traffic on that campaign, you can actually get your entire EIN blocked from messaging. And that is a scary thing. It locks you out of the messaging ecosystem as a company. So it's very important that you as a company leader have oversight into the types of messaging that your employees are doing. And if you are doing the outreach, it's important that you watch your outreach as well. So again, let's walk through it. Make sure that you are reactivating your database intermixed with your normal conversations to minimize your opt-out rate. Make sure that as far as your filtration goes, that you are making sure that your messaging is conversational, it's not pushy, it doesn't cause someone to make a kind of irrational, quick decision on something. You're just there to help them, guide them, and provide them with the information. And so the information might be marketing material, but it shouldn't be pushy marketing material that makes it seem like they have to do something right now. And then if you get a carrier flag, the way that you get rid of it is time. And so you just wait till that carrier flag drops off. and make sure that you use that as a signal to improve your outreach. And if you have any questions about that, reach out to us. We are here to help and guide you through your messaging ecosystem journey. You can reach us at sales@signalhouse.io. You can reach me at will@signalhouse.io. And if you have any questions, I recommend that you reach out. And so I hope this video was helpful. If it was, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. We release content 5 days a week all about the messaging ecosystem. And we will see you in the next one. So thanks so much.